Hi everyone, today I'm going to be talking about the brand new Natasha Denona Hy-Glam Powder Foundation. I ordered this off the Natasha Denona website because you could get it for 15% off with a code, and I purchased mine in the shade Y5, Y7, which is the shade recommended based on my concealer shade in YN6. I'm not a big foundation powder person, so I'm very curious to see how this ends up working for me. And then I also have the Hy-Glam highlighter. She calls this something. Skincare infused glow beautifier. I have mine in the shade O2 medium, and I have already used this quite a bit, so I will use this again today. It's really interesting seeing Natasha Denona expand or re-expand her complexion line because she's already had foundations. I believe 3 foundations previous to this. I have 2 of them. They're quite old now. The X Plus, and I think I just put the other one away because I was using it. But there's another one in a tube. And those are both half off on her website and have been for quite a while. So seeing the sort of re-emergence of new complexion in her line, I've loved her previous foundations, so I'm very curious about like her hopes, dreams, goals for complexion. Anyway, I also have the Hy-Glam Skin Glass. I'm very curious how the powder is going to react with her primer, because the primer is in the Hy-Glam line, and then of course the powder is in the Hy-Glam line. And to me, this glowy serum primer doesn't seem like it would be a great match for a powder foundation, but she's releasing them all under the same line name, so I'm very curious. The powder calls itself the Blurring Flex Tech Hybrid Powder and says, as foundation, use sponge provided in the component to apply the powder onto the skin for seamless medium coverage finish, or you can use it as a setting powder with a face brush or powder puff, wherever you want. So what I'm going to do today is use it as a foundation. I'm going to put the primer on half of my face, and then I'm also going to use the concealer. I'll use the concealer first, so we'll see how the powder goes over that. So I hate touching complexion. I think that's probably enough for half my face. And I have used this, but it's been a while, so it came out at about the same time that the Izamaya one came out, and I bought both of them. Because I really like a glowy primer, but then the problem is I also really like glowy foundations, and together they're usually too much, and then pairing them with a matte foundation, I'm like, well, why would I do that? It's just a whole thing where sometimes it seems like you're trying too hard to layer things that don't need to be layered if you're just doing what you want well. Okay, so, but you can definitely see way glowier compared to this side, and it does keep the skin a little tacky, so I think what I'm gonna do is apply the powder on that side first. I will use the powder puff provided in the component. The component's actually very cool, by the way. It's this sort of soft matte touch, and then just, I think the uniqueness of the compact is pretty cool. And then inside, and then it lifts, oh gosh, need to be gentle with the powder. But inside, there's the puff. And it does say the powder is refillable, but I haven't seen refills available. And then I also have a brush standby. This is the Haley's Beauty. It's like a kind of like a kabuki brush. But let's do concealer first. And I really like the Natasha Denona concealer. It's very, 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 very nice in my opinion. And this is the Anissa Angled Concealer. Oh, I didn't. So this isn't really a first impressions of the concealer at all, but it is definitely a first impressions of the powder. You can see I haven't touched it or anything yet. Maybe I'll swatch it next to the concealer on my hand so we can, if there's anything helpful about this shade. Powder foundations are sort of harder to shade match for me. I don't really know what that's about, but to me they always just tend to go on lighter than they look. So I was nervous, but this concealer is a very good shade match for me, so I figured if I followed the table, it would do well, because this concealer isn't super brightening for me. And if I had a brightening color, I would have been more nervous. I feel like my voice is very scratchy today, but is what it is. Sometimes it's mostly allergies. Okay, so concealer's down. That just blends so seamlessly. That's why I love that concealer. Okay, so we're gonna try the puff. Oh, I said I'd do swatches. Okay, the powder is kind of silky but thick to the touch. And I'm trying to do a heavy swatch so you can see, but it does kind of disappear into my skin, which is a good sign. We want that for a good shade match. It's a little lighter than the back of my hand, but not by a ton. And then there's the concealer. So hopefully this works out. Okay. Oh, I'm nervous. Let's do this. I don't really have high expectations for the puff. I don't know why, I just don't, but that's what it looks like. Okay, so it actually looks a little bit darker on the skin, on my face. I just hate the use experience of this puff. Okay, I'm gonna use the brush just to see. Still stamping it on. Gosh, okay. That's the part of my face that doesn't hold pigment. Same is true for a powder, apparently. I'll look up close. I don't know. Maybe this is not for me. Or maybe my skincare just needs to soak in longer. It looks very heavy right here. And then just kind of patchy over here. The other thing I'm gonna do, okay, I'm gonna grab a fluffier brush and just kind of use it under the eyes to set in that way. And that looks fine, I think. Like I said, I'm not big on powder foundations, but I definitely used to use them. So I do know that it can take a minute for them to settle in. And I have dry skin, so that's also a thing to keep in mind. And I didn't overdo my skincare because I didn't want the powder to have like a very tacky surface that would kind of cause it to catch and get weird. It does look smoother and there's clearly coverage, so it's not all bad, and it's kind of starting to blend out a little. It still just looks a little heavy here, but I'm also wondering if setting spray would help. So I might do that at the end, just to see. Okay, let's move on to the Hy-Glam side, kind of switching between the puff and the brush because I can't really decide my feelings on either method. Ugh, the nose is terrible. Yeah, I just like, it almost doesn't sink into pores. So those spots on my nose just don't look good. The thing that's nice about the puff is you can get that angle. So it's easy to, you know, get it where you want it to go. I'm worried that it's soaking up a lot of skincare. Gosh, okay, yeah, on the Hy-Glam side, it's just really sticking with that puff. So I'm trying the brush. And I do think the brush is a little bit better on that primer side. But yeah, oh boy. Like I said, this is first impressions, and I'm not super experienced with using powder foundations. So you're seeing the learning curve live. Which I know, like if you're like, no, but I really want to try a powder foundation, watching someone brand new and stupid apply it might not be the best way to tell if you're going to like love it on you. But the benefit of first impressions in this circumstance is that if you're also new to powder foundations, you get a feel for what that learning curve is going to look like and feel like. And sometimes it's useful to know that the first time you use it, it's okay to not use it well. It's okay to not use it the perfect way because you're going to learn. And I think that's one of the things that can be kind of intimidating about makeup for some people, is that the first time you do it, it doesn't look the way you thought it was going to look. But it's just because, like anything, it is a skill. So you will get better at it if you practice. Just using my light brush again. And I like it. You know, it just like, as it's settling into the skin, I don't like from a distance from here, but I do still think it looks heavy. I think it looks better on the side with the primer. There's just that little bit of glow coming through. It doesn't look quite so heavy versus this side. But up close, it's still just not super flattering on pores. And that's not usually like a big deal breaker for me, but this just kind of, I don't know. And I don't know, like, does it need buffing? Does it need time to settle? What does it need from me? Let's try the highlight just real quick. So like I said, I have the shade 02 Medium, and I think this highlight is so nice. I really do like it. You can see it better on this side. Because it's impactful, but it still doesn't look icy. The base is really transparent. And that looks good over this powder. I'm gonna try not to overdo it, but I'm really tempted to, I can tell you that. That's just me being a heavy-handed person. Well, I'm kind of light-handed, but like repeatedly. I don't go in strong, but I'll keep going. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do is get MAC Fix Plus on one side of my face. Okay, folks, I'm nervous, but we'll do the better side. And I'll do my best to not get the other side. Look it, I made my face way too wet. Okay, we're doing our best, everybody. Sometimes that's not great, but it's still your best. I'm stressed. It might actually be making my face look better though, so. But I wish it would dry. Holy moly, if I just ruined this, I'm sorry. If I just fixed it, you're welcome. It does actually, I mean, this side is still damp, but I think that's gonna make it look way better. So that's something to note. And I think I'm gonna go off camera and do my eyes and blush and stuff. It doesn't match my neck. There's definitely like a line, so I'll blend some of that out and blend some bronzer. But I do think like when you look at my face and my chest, that's an okay match. Okay, I need to end this part quick because circumstances have changed and all the animals are in my room with me and they're probably gonna get really chaotic about it soon. So this is finished look. It's probably been about another 20 minutes. I still think blush, bronzer, all that applied just fine. See, mascara on my eyelid. I think this side is still looking kind of heavy. This side definitely looks better, but we see some heaviness here, which is where stuff is prone to look heavy on me, but it does. Forehead looks fine, but it's not smoothing. So we will see how it wears because like I said, powder usually needs to settle, and I'll check in like 4 or 5 hours and we'll see if it's settled or if at any point I notice that it's like suddenly changed one way or the other. But I'm curious and scared. See you later. Okay, I'm doing my check-in at the end of the day. It's 10 o'clock, so this has been like 12 hours, I think. And I'm doing it under this horrible fluorescent light. So it's like the least flattering for, like in my mirror I look cute. Here I look like trash. Anyway, it wore really well. You can see that it did get more like shiny, oily, of course. I didn't touch up or anything. And I don't think this was the side with no primer, no setting spray. This was primer and setting spray. And I don't think there's a difference now. So it did like settle. Anyway, it did settle, and I think it looks really nice once it settles. And like I said, I don't really see a difference between the two sides. So once your natural oils work through, it looks great. And then also the primer and the setting spray didn't make it not wear as well either. So either way, you're good to go, it kind of seems like. And I don't think it's like super patchy now. There's my personal patchiness, but nothing big. So not really a powder foundation person, but I could see myself using this again. We just got this light reinstalled in our bathroom, so I thought this would be like a brighter light for check-ins, but I hate the way that I look in it, so I don't know if I'll ever use it again. We'll see. Anyway, hope this was helpful in some way. See you in the next one.